Welcome to the Filling the Gap Together podcast.
We are your hosts, Josh
and Krista. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Krista with Filling the Gap Together podcast, and today we have a special guest where I get to be in her home and her environment, and she's one of my friends, Joanne Schneider. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Joanne, you have fostered a long time.
Yes.
You have a lot of experience, and I'm so thankful to be able to share this with our members, what your experiences have been along all those many years. So rather than me talking about it, you talk about it. How long have you been fostering? What were your experiences like?
Okay. We started fostering in 1985.
Ooh.
And we just retired last August. So we fostered 52 medically complex infants, toddlers, and occasional school-age children in that period of time in 2 states.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Can you explain medically complex and medical foster care to those joining us who don't even know what that is?
Okay. When we started our foster care journey, it's kind of funny. We were living in Jacksonville, and I heard about the medical foster care program. And at that time, one of the parents had to be an RN. So I was an LPN at the time. So I went back to nursing school to get my RN.
Oh.
I graduated on August 1st, and we moved to Ohio on August 2nd, where there was no medical foster care program.
Oh.
So I went to work as a nurse, and while it was in a pediatric rehab hospital, and right away met with the social worker, and they were like so excited that we wanted to do this. And so we were the first medical foster home in Cleveland, Ohio in 1987.
Wow.
Yeah. And they told us that if we had 3 homes established after the first year, that they would support the program. We had 18.
Wow.
And as far as I know, they're still up and running.
That's incredible. I wonder how many they have now.
I know. Yeah.
We'll have to look into that.
So that's how it started. And
so medical foster care, since I'm a medical foster care parent, I know what it consists of now. There being 3 different levels. Were there levels back in those days as well?
When we lived in Ohio, there were it was a brand new program. So basically you got an additional stipend for taking in a child that had medical issues. And they really looked at each case individually, and based on how complex the child was, what your experiences were. That's how they decided how much they would pay you.
Okay.
It was kind of like, there was no set levels or anything like that. Once we came here, we came back to Florida, we moved to county to find out there was no medical foster care program. The only county, or the only district in the whole state that didn't have medical foster care. So we ended up just taking the medical babies, and they would give us a little bit extra money to take them until 2004. Okay. I'm not exactly sure when they actually opened the medical foster care program here in county.
Okay.
And we just slipped in right then.
Okay. And so, and then at that point they had the 3 levels of care.
Correct.
And
they actually had more than 3 levels. They had 1, 2, and 3, and then they had like 2A and 3A or 3.
Okay.
You know, they had some where you could say, okay, well, normally this child will be a level 2, except in addition to being a level 2, he's got this and this. Okay. And so they would, things like
not
that.
quite a level 3.
Correct.
But bigger needs than a level 2.
Correct.
So can you explain to everyone along those lines what the levels are right now? Like what level 1, level 2, level 3, what do they consist of, as far as like what kind of child's needs would you see in each level?
Okay. It changes all the time depending on, someone's interpretation of the tool. Kids that are preemies that might just be having some problems with reflux, or need to be on medication because of that. Kids that have asthma, but it's a stable asthma, or they're just getting breathing treatments, when they have an exacerbation of their asthma. Kids with eczema, skin issues because of allergies, things like that, might come in as a level 1. Level 2, you're going to get into the kid who's on the breathing treatments all the time, routinely every day, not just, for 2 weeks every 3 months. Again, preemies that might have breathing issues, kids who are on oxygen. Basically, it can run the gamut from just an asthmatic all the way up until you get to level 3, where they have diabetes, they have a tracheostomy, they're on ventilators, and so you've got something all along the way, and it's evaluated by the team, by the CMAT team, and they determine what level the child falls onto.
Yes, and they determine the level for a certain amount of days,
Correct.
depending on how far along the case is,
Yep.
and then the medical foster parent
Mhm.
then bills as a provider.
Correct, and that's totally different from the department. It's
Mhm.
through the Medicaid system, and we are Medicaid providers with a billing number. And so you get your stipend for foster care from your agency, and then you get your Medicaid payment through Medicaid.
Correct.
Mhm.
Which, funny enough, I was at a shoe store recently, and they were like, "Are you in the medical field?" And I was like, "Well, I am a medical foster
Yes,
parent,
technically I am.
so I actually bill as a provider. So
Correct.
actually, yes." And they gave me the discount. So I
Yes.
got Nikes for like $40-something.
Yeah.
That
We
was cool.
We are kind of like physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech they're all Medicaid providers,
Yes.
and a lot of them do their own billing. And so we're doing the same thing.
Yes. Which to me is incredible, because we're able to keep those children that are on even the highest level 3 out of a facility and into a home environment. And we have seen ourselves, correct, that they thrive so much better when we get them home and with a family, and we're meeting their needs and intimately, and they just, it's amazing how much they change.
We've even had a placement back when we lived in Ohio of a little girl that lived in a facility, not even a facility, a hospital, for 18 months.
Wow.
And had never seen grass, had never seen carpet, had never. So to see her, like you said, they just thrive when they're in a normal environment. I mean, she was loved and well taken care of, but it was not the same as being out in the world with a family.
Now, currently, where in our county where we live, we only have 7 medical foster homes.
And that's sad, because we used to have 26. Mm-hmm.
We're basically in a crisis, not just because of the lack of medical foster parents, but just the lack of foster parents in general, correct? Like you've seen that along your history of all of these years. Like, what do you think is causing our crises right now? Like, not even just in our county and our state, but just across the board. Like I'm seeing it online. I'm seeing it, some of the people that I follow online, they're having the same crises in other counties and other states. We know there's not enough homes. We know that's one of the problems.
That's really hard to say, because everything goes in cycles, and right now we're in a cycle where we don't have enough foster homes, and the why, it could be a million reasons. I mean, through the pandemic, of course, nobody wanted to have somebody else's kid in their home.
Right.
A lot of parents are out working.
Yes.
And it is difficult to be a foster parent who works, but it's also extremely difficult to be a medical foster parent that works.
Yes.
Especially if you're taking infants and toddlers. So do people, we're in this lawsuit happy world that we live in. Nobody wants to take the responsibility of someone else's child in their home, because, if anything goes wrong, they're coming after you.
Correct.
There's a million reasons, and it's certainly not the typical traditional foster care is not the money-making scheme that a lot of people seem to think it is.
No, it's not. If you do it the proper way, if you use your reimbursement, as they call it, to spend on the child, there's not anything left.
And even in medical, and don't get me wrong, we are compensated, I think, fairly.
Yes,
and
I agree.
No sooner did we quit than they had their first pay increase.
Yes.
we only waited since 2004. So I think that we're compensated fairly, but like you said, if you can feed a teenager and clothe a teenager on what you're being paid as a traditional foster parent, you're a magician. Yes. So I think a lot of people, it's hard times, and they need to take care of their own children in their own families, and they just don't have the extra that they need to do to bring in somebody else's child into their home.
Yes, that's true. And so I appreciate everything that you've done, and
Anytime, you know that.
and just trudging forward your whole family through some really difficult terrain, especially with losing your son. And that's not lost on me or anybody who will watch this. We're grateful that you put yourself out there for him and gave him the very best. Almost 6 years that you
Almost 6 years.
Almost 6 years. So thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you for choosing to be here with us today.
For more, you can visit us at our website or find us on social media.